Hey volunteers, welcome to session 2 of our volunteer training for 2018. I'm standing right out here outside of Elements Hall where we have Logic every Thursday night. But I'm here to tell you something kind of exciting, and that's what this session is going to be about. And here it is. It's not about the meeting. It's not about students coming in here on a Thursday night and the program going perfectly. It's just not about the meeting. And so many times I know I'm guilty of this, and I believe it's very easy for us to all focus on this. It's easy to get caught up in the program. It's easy to get caught up in the success of a night being built on how well did it go, how many kids showed up, how many how smoothly did everything run. And while it is important to desire to have a large crowd, because that means we're reaching students for Jesus, so many times if we get caught up too much in the program of Logic, that can be a frustrating journey to go down. And wait for it, because I'm about to maybe put something in your mind or a way to think about this. If we get caught too much in the program, it can really, get ready for it, suck the life out of changing lives. And I say that to remind us that it is really about the relationships. Paul writes to the Thessalonians in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, he said, we delighted to share not only the gospel, but our very lives. So he's saying that the gospel was so important, but even just sharing life is important when it comes to building those relationships and pointing people to Jesus. So the question I have as a follow-up, and I probably know the answer, is do you want to just share information with students, or do you want to share life with students? And I think we could all say we want to invest in their lives. How many of you can remember somebody when you were a teenager that sort of invested in you, maybe kind of gave you more grace than you deserved, or listened when nobody else would listen? All of us can probably think of somebody, whether it be a parent or a teacher or a Sunday school teacher or somebody in our lives that gave us that kind of grace. I heard a story recently from a youth pastor that said that there was a kid in their church named Tim, and he was this kind of the angry, dark type of kid. And they had this program going where they were partnering people up as prayer partners with somebody in the church. And Tim got partnered with this older couple, Eunice and Don, and they were classic, older, Southern, couple, hospitality, all that. And for the whole time that Tim was in the youth group, he didn't really change. He was always pretty dark. Well, when he went off to college, a couple of years later, Don unfortunately passed away. And who showed up at that funeral but Tim? And the youth pastor asked him, he's like, why did you decide to come? And Tim said, hey, you don't know how much these people meant to me. As dark as he seemed on the outside, they were impacting him deeply on the inside. So success is often, hard to measure. And, Winston Churchill said, success is just one failure after another without losing enthusiasm. So again, that's an encouragement in and of itself. Sometimes when we just keep going, even if we fail and fail and fail, we never know the impact we're having. There's an old Hasidic proverb that says this, and I love this. It says, none of us can place the word of God into anyone else's heart. It's our job to just lay it on the surface, and when the heart breaks, the word of God falls in. So just as we conclude these last minute or so, I just wanted to point out, hey, we don't just love students so that they get with the program. We don't love students so that they just come to Logic and have a good time. We love students, period. That's what we do at Logic. That's what you do as a volunteer. And if you love students and you love students and you love students just because that's what Jesus does to us, watch how students allow the Word of God and the truth of the gospel to sink into their lives because of you. So I got 2 questions for you before I end this session. The first one is how many students did you speak to individually the last time we met here at Logic? How many students did you speak to individually, one-on-one, whether it's in the hallway or in the lounge or outside, one-on-one, the last time we met at Logic? The second question is, can you give me 2 stories about what's going on in a student's life from the last couple of weeks of our meetings? So 2 stories about students that you've heard over the last couple of weeks, and then the question is, how many students did you speak to individually the last time we met? So those are your 2 questions. So if you can email those responses to me, that would be great. I'd love to hear your feedback. So again, thank God it's not about the meeting.